Is it an addiction?
Is it an addiction? No, I don't think it's an addiction. I think it does put me, it makes me happy. But no, it's not an addiction.
So, for once in my life, let me get what I want. Lord knows.
You're gonna live with me now. Huh? Yeah, I'm gonna take care of you. Because I love you.
Welcome to the fucking show.
Welcome back to Fantasy Football by Committee, powered by Flurry Sports. It can be tough to win a fantasy league on your own, but at FFBC, we will work together to bring home the hardware. Hosted by Zach Bruner and the rest of the Flurry Sports crew, we will give top-level analysis, answer your questions, and, well, go off on other tangents.
That was after I tried to get ChatGPT to admit that 9/11 was an inside job, but it stood firm. It gave quite a few solid points that it was true.
Welcome to Fantasy Football by Committee. The show starts in 3, 2, 1.
How is it going, everybody? Welcome back to Flurry Sports. Welcome back to Fantasy Football by Committee. I'm Zach Bruner, your host. We are at week 12. We are at Thanksgiving week. Hopefully I fixed my computer stuff, so let me know if I start to sound glitchy or look glitchy or, whatever. If you think there is an issue, let me know. I apologize for last time I was on, but I think we're good to go. But as I said, Thanksgiving week. So make sure you have your lineup set just so we all know, just so we're all squared away here. 3 games Thursday and another one on Friday. So if you have fantasy players from the Packers, Lions, Cowboys, Commanders, 49ers, Seahawks, Jets, or Dolphins, just make sure you have your shit figured out. You don't want, obviously one of your star players on the bench and then locked. That would blow and ruin your holidays, and we don't want that. So today we're talking about waivers. Obviously, waiver wire certainly weak this week. Week 12 waiver wire isn't somebody who's like an obvious you need to go pick this guy up. However, there were more injuries this past week, as with every single week, but pretty significant injuries, more star players going down. So you may be looking for some backup plans. And obviously with the short week for 8 teams, not even 6, 8 teams, the recovery time is less. A lot of the players in those games were hurt, especially running backs. So yeah, a lot of people are going to be missing games this week. You're going to be looking for backup plans across the board. I'm here to help you today, Monday morning. So I will be looking at ownership percentages from Sleeper Fantasy. Just know the percentages I give on Sleeper Fantasy, like if you play on ESPN, if you play on Yahoo or a different platform, most likely the ownership for those players on those other platforms is going to be less than what's on Sleeper. The people who play on Sleeper typically more sharp, typically have, do it more seriously. So the ownerships for the relevant players are higher there, just so we know that. But yeah, we, as with every week, we'll go over the top 10 most trending players here. Like I said, definitely a week top 10. If you guys have any questions in the chat regarding waivers, regarding trades, regarding anything of the sort, please ask away and we will answer those questions as well. Just trying to think of anything else off the top to mention. Okay, I believe this is true. So obviously we always do a Monday waiver wire show like we are right now. We always do a Wednesday evening show for the ranking show. That is exactly the same this week. And I believe we are still doing a Thursday show. I don't know what time. If I figure out the time, I will let you know. If you're on YouTube, I'll do the community tab. I'll shoot a message there. I believe the other two Zachs, Espinoza and McAdoo, I believe they're going live on Thursday. If not Thursday, maybe Friday. I think there's another start sit show that they will be doing right here at that time. So subscribe. And honestly, if you don't want to miss it, I do suggest hitting the notification bell. You'll get a notification for the lives. You can select what you want notifications for, but there's also a bunch of videos that will go up. Please do that. Please join Fantasy Football by Committee on Facebook. That's a Facebook group. You can ask questions there all week long. You can answer other people's questions as well. That's super helpful. And these streams, these videos, these articles shared directly into that Facebook group so you don't miss a damn thing. But let's get started here. Instead of doing trending players right away, I want to do this. Let's talk about the biggest injury of the week, and it happened a while ago. It seems like a week ago already. So Joe Burrow hurt, out for season, obviously. Just sucks. Just sucks. I mean, he started the year so poorly, finally starting to play better. Out for the season. Wrist surgery. I believe it's technically the wrist. Hurt a pop, couldn't grip a ball. Not fun to see. Not fun for him. Hoping he gets a speedy recovery. But for fantasy now, you've been sitting on it all week. All weekend long. You had a dud at your quarterback spot because I assume you started Joe Burrow. Most likely. You likely didn't have a better situation there. But now you're just trying to figure out how do you replace Joe Burrow. Let's talk about some people you can replace Joe Burrow with. I wrote down 3 names of players who are out there in more leagues than not. So I looked at players 50% ownership or less in Sleeper. Again, if you're on ESPN, if you're on Yahoo, there's a lot more names owned in less than 50% that I would go after. But the number one player owned in only 49% of leagues. He's been up and down a lot this season. He's been turning in some pretty strong performances recently, though. Baker Mayfield, he's owned in only 49% of Sleeper fantasy leagues, and he's been playing pretty well. Obviously, just had a tough matchup with the 49ers. Next 4 games are the Colts, the Panthers, the Falcons, the Packers. There's certainly a lot to like about that. So just the fact that he's been playing well already, now he's playing some matchups against teams that aren't necessarily going to destroy his offensive line. And there's very beatable matchups down the field as well for Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and company. So I think Baker Mayfield is a very, very safe option for you as a replacement for Joe Burrow. Next player owned in only 40% coming off an injury and a bye week, Derek Carr, owned in 40% of Sleeper fantasy leagues. So he had a wombo combo of injuries. He had a shoulder injury and he suffered a concussion when he left the game. From all accounts, shoulder injury, good to go, no worries. He's still in concussion protocol, but again, he has a full week. He doesn't play on a short week, so he has a full week yet. He should be able to get back in there. Owned in only 40%. He has been getting better and better and better for fantasy as the season goes along. And his next 4 games are the Falcons, the Lions, the Panthers, and the Giants. A lot to like there. The Saints offense should get humming against those matchups. I like that quite a bit. And there's other names I think I may prefer to this final player, but again, maybe you play in a league with some pretty sharp people. Maybe you play in a 16-team, a 14-team, a deep league where there's not many options out there. So I wanted an unowned option for you. Again, 0% owned in Sleeper fantasy leagues. And that's Jake Browning, obviously the guy who's replacing Joe Burrow for the Cincinnati Bengals. Could be the guy replacing Joe Burrow for your fantasy team as well. I don't mind him. He used his legs a little bit. I think 40 rushing yards. Obviously, he's got some good receiving weapons. He should be getting T. Higgins back. That helps as well. So I don't mind him whatsoever. I think he'll be serviceable. Another player out there, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, maybe you look at him. look to see if Kyler Murray's out there in your league. There's still some leagues where for some reason he's floating out there. But I think you can do worse than Jake Browning. I think he's okay. This first matchup sucks. So if you don't have to start him this week, I would love to, pump the brakes and see what you got in him a little bit. He plays the Steelers this week. Don't love that. Don't love inexperienced quarterbacks coming in against a shit ton of pressure. But it is what it is. After that, he's got the Jags, the Colts, the Vikings. Things should get a little bit easier for him after the fact. However, Steelers are going to blitz the hell out of him. We'll see how he reacts to said blitz. We know the Bengals are incapable of drawing up protection to keep their quarterbacks upright. They got the dogs up front. They just can't schematically figure out how to slide protection, or Joe Burrow decides not to do it. It's one or the other. I tend to believe Joe Burrow's capable of making adjustments at the line of scrimmage, but we'll see. But I say that to say Steelers going to blitz the piss out of him. If he doesn't react well, the Vikings for sure will do that. Jaguars, I think, would do that. Colts, we'll see. So, if he looks really, really bad this week, you may need to find another option. But for now, if you're super desperate, if you have been rolling with only Joe Burrow, you got a little bit too confident, too big for your britches. You thought, I got Joe Burrow, I'm good. Nobody on waivers. Jake Browning's at least going to be on waivers for you. So you can do that. But like I said, Baker Mayfield's probably my top option, owned in less than half of leagues. Derek Carr, certainly people aren't going to be rushing to go pick up Derek Carr after a couple of injuries, and he's not even cleared concussion protocol yet. So I think that's a good option for you. And then Jake Browning. But yeah, let me know if you're watching this live. Let me know in the chat which one of those guys you prefer. If you're watching this after the fact, let me know in the comments which of those guys you prefer. If you have Joe Burrow, do you have a backup option? What are you doing? I would love to know. Let me just look at some other quarterback options really quick, just so I can give you some live, again, Monday morning ownership percentages for these guys. Okay. Here we go. So other possible options out there for you. Like I said, Kyler Murray's floating out there in too many leagues. Yes, Stu, I feel you. I feel you. Kyler Murray's owned in 76% of sleeper leagues. So on ESPN, that's for sure less. Yahoo, that's for sure less. So definitely go check that out. Ralph, should we be worried about Josh Jacobs? I traded Kyron Williams and Tank Dell for him, and he hasn't produced. That's a tough answer just because, you have to manage expectations, I suppose. I'm not worried about him. Do I think he's a clear-cut RB1? No. So it kind of depends on where your expectations are, I suppose. But he's going to get a big workload, and you're hoping he falls in the end zone. The offensive line isn't very good, but I think Josh Jacobs will get better than what he showed like this week. But yeah, I think he's a low end RB1, high end RB2. If that scares you off of him, then yes, I would be worried, I suppose. Other quarterbacks, Sam Howell's owned in 77%. Brock Purdy's owned in 80%. Again, sleeper fantasy. Josh Dobbs, if he's out there, I would love for you to pick up Josh Dobbs over the other players I already named. He's owned in 71%. The thing with him is he has a good matchup against Chicago this week, and then he has a bye week. So, twofold here. If you pick him up, you're going to have a backup plan for week 13 when he doesn't have a game. However, if you pick up somebody like Browning, like I said, and he really sucks, and you're like, I need a backup option, then look to see if the Josh Dobbs owner drops him during week 13. Maybe you can snag him and then have him for the end of the season stretch, which is the Raiders, Bengals, Lions, and Packers. Certainly like that. Justin Jefferson should be back at the very least by week 14, maybe week 12, though. But yeah, if Josh Dobbs is out there, definitely go for him. I don't really want Jordan Love. I don't want Stafford given given the Cooper Cup injury and given his schedule. Don't like that. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, 11% ownership. Steelers, not the easiest matchup. He then has the Broncos, Rams, Jaguars, and Bears. So I think that could get better for him. I don't love Bryce Young. I don't love Gardner Minshew. You could do worse than Minshew, but don't love it. Russell Wilson's owning 51%. I don't like his matchup this week against the Browns, but immediately after that, I think you're good. He's got the Texans, Chargers, Lions, Patriots, Chargers. So if you can just get through this week, if you aren't in a must-win spot this week, then Russell Wilson, 51% ownership, all of a sudden becomes a pretty solid option for you as well, I think. But yeah, I don't think I'm going for anybody else. I think that's it. I don't need a Steelers guy. I don't need a Patriots guy, a Jets guy. I don't need Geno. Yeah, I think that's it. If you have Joe Burrow, I'm sorry. But those are the guys I would be targeting to replace him if you do not already have a replacement. Now, let's go back then. Let's look at the top 10 trending players on Sleeper Fantasy. These are players who have been added the most over the past 24 hours, recording this Monday morning. As always, so number one most trending player, we just talked about him, Jake Browning, replaces Joe Burrow. He's been picked up in over 160,000 leagues. He used his legs a little bit. That was nice to see. He didn't look terrible. He certainly didn't look amazing, but he didn't look terrible. The matchup with the Steelers, it's scary. It's scary. Inexperienced quarterback comes in. He's going to be ran all over the place. We'll see how he does. Could be great, could be terrible, but you certainly could do worse in replacing Burrow with Browning. Just the weapons he has at his disposal alone, he should be fine. He should be fine. Nino in the chat, with me being assuring for the playoffs, I'm pretty scared about Kupp. Is he in a must-trade ASAP situation? That's interesting. Usually I talk about players who, it's like you can drop him, but he's not a must-drop. You can trade him, but he's not a must-trade. Kupp with the injury, and I believe his schedule sucks. So he's got the Cardinals this week, but then he goes the Browns, the Ravens. He has Washington. Then he has the Saints and the Giants. There's no such thing as a must trade. I'll say that. There's no such thing as a must trade just because I don't sell a player pennies on the dollar, right? I'm not going to give a player away. However, if you can trade Cooper Kupp and get high-end wide receiver 2 value, I'm for sure doing it. If you can improve your team elsewhere and you're already good at wide receiver, I'm probably doing it. Because, obviously he hasn't been producing, right? And then now he's hurt, and then the schedule gets tougher. So, must trade? No. But I'm certainly motivated to find something that works. You're probably going to have to do a package deal for a guy like Cooper Kupp. For whatever reason, whatever the psychological reason is, you get this huge name in Cooper Kupp, someone who's been so good. He's been struggling recently. When you pair him with somebody, for whatever reason, people value that player more because it's like, oh, I get this X player plus Cooper Kupp. I feel like it hides the weaknesses a little bit for whatever reason. I think psychologically you can get more value on Cooper Kupp individually when he's packaged with somebody. So that's what I'm trying to do. If you just said very true, just having Stroud, I'm trying to get Dell and Ford for Kupp and Singletary. I think you can get more. Like, first off, I don't think Tank Dell, as much as I love him, have loved him during the draft process, have loved him all year long, I can't imagine this is going to be consistent at this level. And then Ford, I mean, he just split snaps evenly with Kareem Hunt. I'm not a big Jerome Ford fan as it is. And Singletary, even though his role is going to go down, he's not disappearing again. There's no shot. So I think you can get more. Even given where Cooper Kupp is today, I think you can get more. Stoof is screwed. He has Mahomes, Eckler, Jamar in a 12-team redraft. Not a bad team around them, but going to miss playoffs. Lamest season ever. Yeah, man. Yeah, Eckler, there's no excuse for what Eckler did yesterday. There's zero excuse. Like, cost me a lot of money in a parlay, too. Luckily, I had some other huge ones to keep me afloat and profit, but like, I lost a parlay because Austin Eckler didn't get 20 yards receiving, I believe it was. It's insane. He didn't have the looks. He didn't have the carries. I don't get it. It makes absolutely no sense. That is a coaching decision. Insane. How do I improve my team? Kyler, Goff, Eckler, Bijan, Connor, Kyron, Robinson, A.J. Brown, Pittman, Dell, Douglas, Meyer, and then tight ends, Laporta and Kincaid. So, how do you improve your team? Quarterback, you're good. Tight end, you're good. Assuming it's a 3 wide receiver league, obviously that third wide receiver is a little iffy. And then running back wise, Eckler, you have to keep starting Eckler. Bijan, you're probably still starting Bijan. We'll see what Kyron Williams is when he comes back. I almost don't hate selling Kyron Williams right now, though. Like, that's where I am. I have him in several leagues. I feel like I should be selling Kyron Williams just because when he comes back, he's probably not going to be the bell cow like he was before. And maybe you can sell him to someone thinking he will be that. So if you could somehow go Kyron Williams and Bijan Robinson for stud running back, I don't hate that. If you could do Kyron Williams and Michael Pittman, Kyron Williams, and Tank Dell for, again, super stud wide receiver, I don't hate that. You probably don't need both Laporta and Kincaid, but, you know, Kincaid's obviously not in a must-sell. He's in a sell-high spot as well, just because if Dawson Knox comes back, I assume they're going to run 12 again, 12 personnel, which destroyed Dalton Kincaid because he wasn't played in his natural position. But yeah, you have a good team. You know, I should have started with that. You have a good team, but if you could improve that RB2, if you can improve that wide receiver 3 by just using some of your depth to vault yourself up, that's what I'm looking to do. Would you trade Terry McLaurin and Musgrave for Kincaid and Rashee Rice? I think so. Even though, like I just said, Kincaid, I think his value goes down. I mean, Musgrave can do jumping jacks in the middle of the field as much as he wants. Jordan Love doesn't know how to read a field, so I think that certainly hurts him. And then McLaurin is... I was unfortunately right with my off-season stuff on him. And I like Rashee Rice. I think he's getting better. So I think I would do that trade. Watch what happens tonight. That's interesting. Would I put in the trade for that before we see Rashee Rice tonight? I think I would. I think he's going to be pretty good tonight. And his value is going to go up if that's the case. Jackson Taylor. I was offered Thielen and McBride. Thielen for McBride in Hollywood. He wants to sell Diggs, but only wants Kelsey in return. Can't justify that. Should I go through with the first trade? Lack of targets for Hollywood. So you would be getting Hollywood and McBride. Absolutely not. Zach Ertz might be back next game, and could, that would almost immediately make McBride not that usable. And then Hollywood is Hollywood. So no, I'm not doing that trade. How do you feel about my trade this past week? Traded Diggs and Connor for Gibbs and Pittman. I don't hate it. I mean, Gibbs this past week, again, don't be fooled. There's going to be people saying a million things. Gibbs' role this past week is because the Lions were trailing. How often do you think the Lions are going to be trailing rest of season? Probably not a ton. So, I mean, Gibbs is still not a running back one for me personally. I will say that. Pittman's okay. Diggs obviously didn't look good last night, but that, he got sauced. What are you supposed to do? I think I like your trade. I don't think you overwhelmingly won by any stretch of the imagination. Usually in a trade like this where it looks pretty even, I would prefer to have the best player in the trade. For me, that's Stephon Diggs, but even trade, I think it's okay. Doesn't look like Gibbs will slow down. I mean, he already has. Appreciate it. I think so as well. Bill's offense looks all over the place with Diggs. I mean, last night is what it is. Oh, you'd be getting Thielen? Then yes, I would do that trade. I would love selling high on those two Cardinals guys. Is Pickett droppable in redraft super flex? Yeah. I mean, yeah, especially if he's not your quarterback 2 already. Like, I would rather have Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I would rather have Jake Browning. I'd rather have Jake Browning. I'd rather have a lot of guys. So yeah, for sure droppable. Must drop. I don't know. If he's your quarterback 2 and you've been starting him, then it kind of talks about the situation you're in, I suppose. But if you're already not playing him and you can get an upgraded quarterback, go for it. Because boy, not good. Legitimately, Sean Clifford, yeah, probably better than Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett's not great. The offensive scheme around him's not great. Not a lot to love offensively for Pittsburgh, I would say. Going back here, top 10 trending players on Sleeper. Like I said, Jake Browning, number 1. Number 2 is Zach Charbonnet with Seattle. Ken Walker left. I mean, we've been talking about him for weeks at this point, talking about how he's been dealing with injuries more than what has been reported. I do know that. But then he leaves right away, like after the first drive, I do believe. Oblique injury, I think. Doesn't seem super serious. However, they do play on Thursday. Ken Walker will not go almost for sure. So Charbonnet, who has seen his snaps go up and up, his role has been growing. Now he gets a full-time role this week on Thursday. The issue is he plays the 49ers. I don't know how much confidence you can have given the matchup. However, I do think he is, given his work in the receiving game right now, I think he's a flex. So if you are super desperate at running back, Charbonnet is owned in only 51% of sleeper fantasy leagues. But in a reception premium league, whether it be PPR, half PPR, whatever it be, I do think Zach Charbonnet can return flex value. You're hoping he can get a touchdown. This week is tough. The next 3 weeks aren't great. I mean, he's got the 49ers, the Cowboys, the 49ers, then the Eagles, then the Titans. So tough for the Seattle running game the next month. But Charbonnet is the number 2 most trending player. Don't fully hate it. Rondale Moore, the number 3 most trending player. A player I just desperately want to break out because I do have him in Dynasty. I think the talent is there. In the past, it's just he couldn't stay healthy. He stayed healthy this season. He made a big boom yesterday, I suppose. 48-yard touchdown catch. That's great. He had 1 target. He's been used running the football a little bit, whatever, which scares me, by the way. I mean, they list him at 5'7", 180. I think that might be generous as well. But yeah, 1 target for Rondale Moore in a game where Michael Wilson was out, Zach Ertz was out, and I think they may have been missing another pass catcher. I mean, if you watched it, it seemed like Marquise Brown was missing, but he was actually out there. But yeah, Rondale Moore, I can't promote going to pick him up. I've seen a lot of people, a lot of other sites, quote unquote analysts saying Rondale Moore. I mean, the seal's been broken. Go pick up Rondale Moore. 1 target, dude. Like, what did we? There's no reason to actually back Rondale Moore right now. He's a player. I hope he goes off. If you have an empty spot on your bench, I think you could fill it with somebody better. But whatever, maybe a speculative ad. Rams and Steelers the next 2 weeks, then a bye, then the Niners. So you're never feeling good about starting him. I think he's a full ignore. I can't imagine picking him up and actually feeling good about it. There's no reason to do that. And speaking of picking up somebody and not feeling good, Isaiah Likely. He was so good last year. He was so good in his rookie year in extended playing time. He now has 2 games with extended playing time. Mark Andrews, by the way, out for season. That sucks. It didn't even look that bad. It was definitely surprising that he was ruled out for the season. But week 1, I believe Mark Andrews fully missed. Isaiah Likely played 72% of the snaps. Mark Andrews went out pretty much immediately during Thursday Night Football. Isaiah Likely played 74% of the snaps. So he kind of has 2 full games as a starter this year. In those 2 full games, 3 targets, 1 catch, 4 yards. Obviously, the upside's there. We saw the upside last year. He had a game, 67% of the snaps, 6 catches, 77 yards, touchdown. Week after that, 76% of the snaps, 1 catch, 24 yards, touchdown. Touchdown saved him there too. Final week, 88% of the snaps. I'm sure Lamar Jackson didn't play in this game. 8 catches, 103 yards. So really, with Lamar Jackson, and I'm not researching. I think he played both weeks 8 and 9 with Lamar Jackson last year, but don't quote me. But if it is the case, if his last 3 games as basically a starter with Lamar Jackson, or 4 games rather, if his last 4 games with Lamar Jackson resulted in 3 games with 1 catch or less, I don't know how you can really like it. Isaiah Likely, rostered in 5% of leagues, extremely talented receiver. I don't know. I don't know how you pick him up. If you pick him up, you're for sure not starting him. He's a stash. Wait and see. Plays the Chargers this week. That's a great matchup. Then he has a bye week, so you're already sitting him again. It's tough. I don't know. Literally, I feel like my only reason personally for picking him up this week, if I pick him up, is to immediately trade him. If you're still able to trade, pick him up, sell him to the Mark Andrews owner. Maybe you do that, but I don't get excited about Isaiah Likely on the waiver wire right now. It just, he hasn't performed. Not good. Okay, what else we got here? Gibbs, 54. What's up? Nino, let me scroll up what your question was before. Apologies. The Diggs and Connor for Gibbs and Pittman. For running backs, you got Bijan, Brees, Gibbs, Warren. So you're okay at running back. Wide receiver, Amon-Ra, Kupp, Pittman, Ridley. Who should I package to upgrade a wide receiver? I mean, I'm not counting on Calvin Ridley to have any consistent value. So after a big game, I'm trying to trade him. I understand we were talking about trading Kupp. I would try that as well. Fine. But I'm not trusting Bijan. I think Breece Hall is fine, even though his role is getting smaller now again. Gibbs, I think, is probably, running back 2 most weeks. And then Warren's kind of vaulting up. I mean, if you're trading away Cup with this team, if you're going Cup and Warren, Cup and Gibbs, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to have to get something really fucking good back. And I'm not sure if you're going to be able to find somebody willing to give up a really good running back right now. So that's tough. I'm almost going or a really good wide receiver, rather. I'm almost going Cup and Ridley for certified stud. If you can do it. If you could do Cup and Ridley for Justin Jefferson, I think I'm doing it. Yeah, I think that would be the trade I'm trying to make. Hopefully they are, they don't have much depth at wide receiver. That's the trade I think I would try to make. Start 4. And again, this is a better question for Wednesday night when we do our ranking show. I haven't started my rankings yet. I don't even have the schedule fully memorized here, but just on a gut call initially. Start 4, Thielen. I think that's Rondale Moore. Correct me if I'm wrong with that. Puka, Metcalf, A-Chain, Javonte Williams. For some reason, that doesn't feel like Rondale Moore. Please tell me if I'm wrong. But I can't. Oh, Elijah Moore, maybe? Okay, so you're starting Thielen. You're starting Javonte Williams. I think A-Chain's going to be out. So he rules himself out for you. DJ Moore. Jesus Christ. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going Thielen, Moore, Javonte Williams. Who the Rams play? Rams play the Cardinals. Okay, so, and Puka. I'm sitting A-Chain, who's probably out, and then I think I'm sitting DK Metcalf. That's what I would do. Okay. So we've gone over the top 4 trending players. Like I said, definitely an ugly week on the waiver wire. Jake Browning 1, Charbonnet 2, Rondale Moore 3, Isaiah Likely 4. Number 5 is a player who always performs when the other is out, and it's vice versa when this player is out as well. We got Donald Parham. Gerald Everett was out this past week. When Everett's out, Parham performs. When Parham's out, Everett performs. And when they're both active, they are very mediocre. But Parham, I think, is a better player. 6'8", athletic. 6 targets against the Packers. Tight ends can certainly get it. Anyone who gets matched up with the Packers linebackers can do a lot of damage, let me tell you, as a Packer fan. But Parham, 6 targets, 4 receptions, 57 yards. I don't know the situation where you're picking him up. Like, for him to be the 5th most picked up player, I think it must just be Mark Andrews owners trying to find something. But don't do that. I'd rather pick up Isaiah Likely than Mark Andrews based on upside. Or Likely over Parham, rather, based on upside. Yeah, there's no reason to pick up Donald Parham. I don't know why people are doing that. Number 6, what's his ownership? Jaden Reed, rookie for the Packers. He's looked really good this year. As much as I like to criticize the Packers draft classes the past several years, essentially under Brian Gutekunst, because he's terrible. Jaden Reed's looked pretty good, in my opinion. He would look even better with a competent quarterback. Rostered in 43% of leagues. 6 targets, 4 receptions, 46 yards this past week. And he led the Packers in rushing. I've seen a lot of sites talk about that. I think that's misleading. Like, I feel like people are saying that as if Jaden Reed led the Packers in rushing because Aaron Jones went out, like they used him in a Debo-esque role or something like that. That's not the case whatsoever. Like, the Packers like to run bullshit end arounds, and Jaden Reed is just good enough to sometimes make it work. But yeah, Yeah, I mean, he's getting targets, man. He's talented. He should see the field more. If I'm owning a Packers receiver, I think it's Jaden Reed. But I mean, all season long, I've been telling people how Christian Watson's not the wide receiver one. I'm not wrong about that. Still not wrong about that. He is not very good at football. He's extremely athletic. That's fine. That's great. That'll account for something at some points, but not very skilled. Romeo Doubs is skilled, but he's not very athletic. Jaden Reed's kind of the best of both worlds. He plays in the slot more often than not. Obviously, he gets those end arounds. He doesn't see enough opportunities given his skill set. However, that probably could go up, especially in matchups against the Lions, the Chiefs, the Giants, the Bucks, the Panthers, the Vikings. That's the rest of the season for Jaden Reed and the Packers. Not bad whatsoever. Facing some weak defenses, facing some offenses that can put up points. All of that means good things for Jaden Reed. So if you're desperate, deep league, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I mean, you could do worse, I suppose. Again, not a player you need to go pick up, but he's fine. Number 7 most trending player is another Packer, A.J. Dillon. Speaking of a not good player from the Brian Gutekunst draft class, A.J. Dillon's not good at football. Let's start there. Let's not even disguise our words. Let's not pretend. Let's not live in la la land. A.J. Dillon's not good at football. However, Aaron Jones carted off the field, knee injury, ACL intact. Doesn't really matter in terms of this week. Packers short week playing the Lions. Aaron Jones for sure out. And with the way that they have managed Aaron Jones's injuries the past several years, I can't imagine he plays in week 13 against the Chiefs either. So if you're desperate at running back, you suffered some running back injuries, whatever it may be, I think you're going to get a full helping of A.J. Dillon for at least the next 2 weeks. He's also in a contract year. So it's another opportunity for the Packers to say, hey, here's your addition. Either you're going to wear yourself into the ground or you're going to earn a second contract. I think that's what the Packers do here. So A.J. Dillon, next couple of weeks, I suppose, I mean, he's more of a flex than an RB2, but I suppose he's in that RB2 territory, and hopefully he scores a touchdown for you. That's kind of where he's at. Even though he is the 7th most picked up player, part of that is because he is owned in 61% of leagues. But like, I'd prefer him to Rondale Moore. I'd prefer him to Isaiah Likely, Parham, probably Jaden Reed. It's him or Zach Charbonnet. Who would I rather have, A.J. Dillon or Charbonnet? I think I'd rather have A.J. Dillon right now, given the matchups that Seattle is about to face. So he may be the priority pickup if he's available in your league. He may be the priority pickup. Another player who's not on the trending, what's his ownership? 65% owned. Go look for Khalil Herbert as well. Deontay Foreman started the game for the Bears. He got hurt. And do they play on a short week? They do not. I mean, I think Herbert is going to slide back into his role for the most part. Plays the Vikings this week, not the easiest matchup. Then a bye. So you have to manage expectations. But if you're looking for somebody with a role, somebody with guaranteed touches, go look for Khalil Herbert. TS, Puka's always a start if Stafford is healthy. I mean, no, but he's a start if Stafford's healthy and Cooper Kupp's not on the field. The remaining of the top 10 is the Broncos defense, KJ Osborne for some unknown reason, and Odell Beckham. Odell has started to look like old Odell, and it was great to see. For whatever reasons, no one's talking about his injury. Like, even if you look into his latest news here on Sleeper, granted it is from Fantasy Pros and they fucking suck. Like, there wasn't even a mention. There isn't a mention that he left the game hurt. Like, Odell's, I hope he's good. I mean, I don't think he's a guaranteed to play this week. Playing the Chargers, hurt shoulder is what it seemed like. I hope he's good because he's been looking like old Odell. And if he is looking like a legitimate threat in the Ravens offense, if he is a big part of the Ravens offense, not only is that great for the Ravens, he could be a very, very valuable fantasy asset down the stretch, owned in 41% of 41% of sleeper fantasy leagues. Worth a look. Yeah, I don't know what else. I don't know what else to tell you. Tank Dell is up there. He's rostered in 84%, so he's probably not available. Khalil Shakur, he's rostered in 21%. Love him. Again, a guy I couldn't have talked more about during the draft process, talking NFL draft. His role is going to be in serious jeopardy once Dawson Knox comes back. And right now, Week 12, next week, they play at Philly. Then it's a bye. Week 14, I'm not sure if Dawson Knox is back then. If so, I mean, Kincaid's value is going down, unfortunately. Shakir's value would be going down, unfortunately. So we'll see. He's a guy, if you want to pick him up. I mean, I don't know a situation where you would feel good about starting him. So that's the thing. This is where we need to start managing our expectations. This is when we need to start thinking about what the fuck we're doing. We're going to the fantasy playoffs right now, right? Assuming you are pretty good or you've locked up a playoff spot, you need to learn how to adjust your bench. You need to figure out what you're doing. If you're picking up Khalil Shakur as your wide receiver 5, why? There's zero chance that he is ever going to be started for you. There's no chance where he is a great player to start on a week in, week out basis. Put some handcuffs on your bench. Look ahead to some really good matchups. Put people like that on your bench. That's fine. But a Khalil Shakur, who at best is the 4th receiving option on a team, and I do think Gabe Davis is still ahead of him, despite what we saw last night. Just given the role, because right, once they go 12 personnel, I mean, Shakir's not even on the field. Yeah, no reason to do that. No reason. Joe Flacco is trending, as he should be. He's signing with the Browns. I can't imagine he's going to start. Like, I think they're going to keep rolling with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I don't know why they wouldn't. Zay Jones came back this past week, got arrested, and then came back. Not sort of a rare thing to see. Played 63% of the snaps, 4 catches, 20 yards. Good player. I can't imagine he's ever going to be consistent for you. The only thing with his return is it lowers Christian Kirk a little bit and it lowers Evan Engram a little bit, which sucks. After a big week 10, Rico Dowdle's trending on the most dropped players. Certainly worth a look. Played 30% of the snaps, 8 carries for 23 yards, 2 receptions, and looks to be the clear Tony Pollard handcuff. So not a bad guy to stash if you have a spot. Ty Chandler is one of the most dropped players. Again, we already know he's the handcuff to Alexander Mattison who continues to get hurt. Not a bad stash. Not a bad stash. Just because Madison's back doesn't mean Ty Chandler shouldn't be owned. So go check him out. Is Taylor Heineke going to be... Taylor Heineke expected to return as the backup? What are we doing? What are we doing? Like... I got nothing to say about that, I guess. I don't know. So Desmond Ritter's the starter in Atlanta again. Talking about Joe Burrow replacements, Desmond Ritter's not one of them for me. He's low on the list, at least. I don't know why they're doing that. That is stupid. Any final questions you guys got before we get out of here? I don't think we need to, sit on here and milk this for more than it's worth. I mean, week 12, waiver wire, not strong. Like I said, though, we got 3 games Thursday. We got another game on Friday. You need to be prepared. You need to have your waivers figured out, especially if you don't have like the automatic pickup after waivers run that first time. If you have daily waivers, you need to be careful here. You don't want to get stuck with a dud. You don't want to have your better players locked on your bench. You don't want any of that. So certainly be aware of your situations on your leagues this week. There's going to be too many people losing because they didn't start their players. Don't let it be you. Don't let it be you. And then week 13, do we return to bye weeks? Yes. Yes. No teams on bye this week. 6 teams on bye next week. Yikes. Yikes. And then week 14, I believe, is the last one. Yes, we got 2. Glad we didn't space those out better. But yeah, it is what it is. For those still hanging around, I might as well give you guys a little something. How about a free $100? Go join Underdog Fantasy. You can scan the QR code on your screen right now. Type in Underdog Fantasy online. You can type it in on the App Store. This is honestly, it's my favorite DFS site. They have live drafts. My favorite day of fantasy football season is probably the same as yours. If it's not championship day, it's draft day. And with Underdog Fantasy, you can have both of them in the same day. You join live drafts with other users and draft teams, whether it be for tonight's Monday Night Football slate. So just the Monday Night Football people are in there. You got whole weekly slates. You got other sports. Pretty soon, Underdog's going to be bringing back their NFL Best Ball for the playoffs. That is so much fun. That's one of my favorite slates of the entire year. So you draft a bunch of players. You draft, you forget it. You don't have to set your lineup or anything like that. The best players play. If you draft the players who make it to the Super Bowl, you're going to be making some good cash. Ton of fun. But Underdog has more than drafts. They also have pick'ems, so you can go higher or lower on a variety of different projections, whether it be single stat, whether it be fantasy points, stuff like that. Tons of money to be made. And I'm telling you, the in-game projections for NFL games, that's where you can make so much money, or NBA games as well. The in-game projections, you can make so much money. There's situations to exploit there, I promise you. But go to Underdog right now, sign up with promo code FLURRY, FLURRY, and you get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Double your $100 deposit before winning a damn thing. And then we'll come back here and we'll give you some winners so you can multiply those winnings even more. Trust me, definitely worth it. My favorite DFS site, and there's more stuff coming to Underdog very soon. They just launched a new game in 4 or 5 states called Pick'em Champions. That's a ton of fun. I could see that getting introduced to every market. And there's other very, very big things coming to Underdog very soon. Very soon. So you're going to want an account on Underdog. Trust me. Promo code FLURRY, FLURRY, for a 100% deposit match. If you're on YouTube, there's a link in the description as well. Please go click it. Please subscribe. I'm thankful for everyone who watches this, everyone who comments in the comment section afterwards. Hit the bell so you don't miss anything. Trying to do my BS YouTube stuff here because we do want this channel to grow a lot. I also sincerely thank you. Sincerely want to know what you guys want to see once football season's done. I hate to talk about it, but we are in week 12. We're kind of coming down the home stretch here, especially for fantasy football. Let me know the kind of content you want to see. We've been toying around with some NBA shows for like DFS and maybe fantasy basketball. There is sort of a idea for just like Luke, Trevor, and I having our own sort of podcast type of thing where it's not even really sports related. Let me know if you would want to watch that. but I might just do some individual content as well. I don't know. I want to know what you guys want to see. We may experiment with some stuff, but trust me, if there's something you want to see and you comment it down below, I'll see it and we'll probably do it. We'll try pretty much anything. So take that for what it is and test the boundaries. Test the boundaries. We'll see what we'll do. Okay. We will be back Wednesday evening doing the ranking show and answering some of your start-sit questions since we got 3 games on Thursday. Enjoy the holiday week. Enjoy Monday Night Football tonight, and I'll see you soon.